If you'd like to follow the process of turning a block of wood like this into a guitar like this, then you've come to the right place. And if you would like to see me give this guitar away, click subscribe, hit the bell. I want to show you what happens when I find a nice piece of wood at a garage sale and then find a sewing cabinet, an old antique sewing cabinet. This is what happens when a guy that builds guitars decides to build a sideboard. Set alarm for 10:30 a.m.
I turned on your 10:30 a.m. alarm.
Before I go and start routing on Tony's guitar, I'm going to show you what I'm going to do here now for these single coil SAX by EMG. On the Cloud guitars, they come in from the back here like so. Obviously this hole is too deep, so it's not going to come all the way through, but you can see how it lines up in there. And the one thing that I want to do is I can see that there's just a slight bit unevenness to this, so I'm going to sand that so it's good and flat. And I'm going to use this as my template for that pickup cavity. Yeah, it's on a different body style, but as long as I line up my lines on the center like it needs to be, it's going to be just fine using this as the template, even though it's a different body style. But the thing that I really want to point out is take the time to make your template right, and then you can save a whole lot of time when it comes time to sand or work on the other guitar. Otherwise, any mistake that's on a template is going to be repeated, obviously, on your guitar bodies. To route for this pickup is actually 3 templates, different sizes, front to all the way to the back. All right, guys, the annoying cicadas are back at it, by the way. They are making lots of noise, so I apologize for that buzz, but I can't help that. I'm going to use this template, as I said, and I'm going to get this put on. I've already made marks on here where it needs to line up. I'm going to line that center up there. Now with that template all lined up there, I'm going to do a pilot hole through here, and this is going to be where the screws will go through. Make sure that your screws are countersunk so that they don't hinder your router at all. I set my bit at the shallowest depth that I can possibly set the bit at. And then with this, there are a lot of guys that will drill out everything ahead of time. I usually just use my router with most of it. Maybe you might go through more router bits that way, but it's really not all that bad if you are slow and you take it easy. Works pretty well for me. So I'm just going to slowly tilt my router in. Be careful doing this because routers can be scary. But if you just carefully, with the pressure, just like that. You notice I started by going in just small little circles around and around to get it started. Well, that one looks good. Now I will leave it at the same depth on there. I'm going to take off my template. I'm going to take off my template, and then I'll just use that route as the new template. Alright, so I am at 5/8. I'm at 5/8, so I need to go just a little bit deeper with it. Now I can just measure Let's measure this to see how deep I am. This leopard wood, which is on the back, it really acts a lot like a mahogany, I think. It's softer, it's a little more porous, and then the curly maple on top, kind of getting the same effect as you would with like the Gibson, using the mahogany back with the maple tops, where you got there's all sorts of controversy about tone woods. I do think it makes a difference. Depends on how much you're processing your sound, of course, but if just raw sound, you get some brighter tones out of the hard woods, and you get the lower and mid tones out of the softer woods. But anyway, I'm sure I'll get comments on that, because there's a lot of people that disagree with tone woods. But when you compare everything without all sorts of effects and you just run through an amp, you can kind of tell the differences. Not saying that you can get good sounds out of all sorts of things, like a shovel. If that's the sound you want, you can do it. So now on this single coil, I am actually going to turn this around so that this can get some space. And I'm actually going to put this bit all the way through the body, and I'll have to show you the reason why in a little bit. I've got a much deeper bit on this router. Now on this back side, I've got two more depths I'm going to go to. I'm going to be taking this one almost all the way through, but I'm going to leave about 1/8 of an inch on the front side, in which the ears on the ends of those pickups, they will set on that ledge inside there. And then this one is a little bit bigger route, and this is for the cover plate that's going to go in. So I need to do these two. Okay, so looking down into there, you can see that there is now a ledge down in there, and that's going to be where that EMG is going to seat itself on that ledge. Okay, and there is our third route for this, and then this one's nice and smooth, and that's going to be for the cover plate. I have marked where my volume, tone, three-way switch is going to be, and then I'll be putting the 1/4 inch jack on the edge on this one. I will go down, I'm going to drill through all the way through. I'll drill with the correct size bits there, and then where those bits come through, that helps me to line this up back here, knowing how to line this up as I can see where that pattern is at. And then I will route the back cavity out. To set myself up for spraying, I go about this method. There are other guys that have some really great setups for how they have their spray system set up. Go into this part of the guitar, drill in a couple of holes, which is obviously in the pickup cavity. It's never seen. I come in there, I drill those couple of holes, I screw this board to it, and that allows me to hang it from this eye hook, or I can flip it upside down, put the board in there, inside, tighten those up. It holds it. The guitar's up here then. The guitar will be up here, and it lays flat. And that way, when I'm spraying the guitar is laying flat, both this way or this way, instead of hanging up and down perpendicular. And it allows for me to put maybe just a little bit thicker coat on without it running. Right, it's 2 days later after I was working on Tony's guitar on that neck pocket, and then also I gave this the first coats of spraying. I have sanded this down with 600 grit sandpaper, and now I'm getting ready to spray it again. I'll use tack cloth on it. I've got the decal, my logo on there. So I've got this decal on here, and Where you put the decal, you don't sand underneath where you're going to put that, but you have to have a few coats of poly or whatever finish you're using on there before you put the decal on. And then I let it dry for a couple of days before I spray anything on it, and then I just give a light spray for the first coat, and then I can start to go heavier. But you don't want any water underneath that. Now this one is still up for grabs, so I'm still taking nominations on this guitar. I'm going to give this away. I hope I'll be able to do this, hoping anyway, in the next month to month and a half that this one will be finished, and I'll be able to give this away too. This is what happens when a guy that builds guitars decides to build a sideboard, kind of do a sunburst finish on it. So here it is, guys. This is my sunburst sideboard table. It's not done yet. I still have coats of polyurethane to put on it. So yeah, we were driving by a garage sale in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and looked over and I saw these big slabs of wood. Why not? So use this base, make a side table. Couldn't resist giving it a sunburst finish. Turns out pretty good, I think. You know what? Maybe you ought to comment. Let me know if you like it or if you think that it just doesn't work. But I kind of like it. Guess that's all that matters. I put this in place and then I check my lines coming down the neck and I make sure that they look right. You don't want, here if I move the strings over, so now it's like way out of skew over here. Obviously you can see this line is that far, this is over here. I need to make it so that they're where they need to be. Still at attention, making sure they're in the groove on the nut, which they are. Making sure also I've got room to change my the saddle. That's one of the things I really like about this bridge, is that these saddles are adjustable forwards and sideways both. Pilot hole. Not going very deep. As I sit here working on this editing project, I just want to say thanks to my Patreons for their support. So Chris Swanson, thank you. Sam and Emily, thank you. Lori Joe, thank you for investing in this project for Tony. I really appreciate it. Looks like this is going to play really, really well when we get it done. Now I'm also going to be able to just line up here. I can see that as long as I just go right on my center line to figure out where my pickup cavities need to go, we should be good. We're looking really good here. Thing is I am now on a timeline to get this done. I've got to get this guitar finished this week. I can tell you why later. I can't tell you yet why I've got to get it done this week, but I've got to get it done this week because I got to get it done this week.